This is a fun tutorial to try. We're going to add some magic sparkle fairy dust, I suppose you'd say, to a photo. There are probably heaps of ways to do this, but I'm going to show you this one because it's a good way to also learn a little bit about brushes and the pen tool in Photoshop. Because this method does use the pen tool, it's only for Photoshop. It won't work in Elements, sorry. So what I want to attempt here is to create a kind of stream of sparkles going up from Santa's hand in this photo. So my first step is to choose the pen tool, and up here this options bar will look a bit different depending on your version of Photoshop, but make sure it's set to paths, not shapes. And I'll go to the path channel. Whoops, that's my old one. I'll get rid of that. So I'm going to start with the pen tool by drawing a path roughly where where I want the trail of sparkles to go. So I might have it going up here, maybe in sort of a circle around there, and then up to the top there. That might work. I could, if I wanted, to save that path, but it's fine to just leave as a work path for now. So that path is now going to be the basis for the brushing I'm going to do. Normally I don't use my paths panel very much, and it just stays hidden behind the layers, but I'm going to be using both here, so I might just drag my paths panel out separate because I will need to refer to both layers and paths. Alright, so I will make a new layer, and I'm going to, and I've made sure that I'm painting with white here, and I'm going to choose my brush tool, just a regular round soft brush here. Just open my brushes panel. Yep, just a good round brush there is fine, and take it up to maybe about that size. I can paint on there to test it, but then I'll just Control Z to undo that, because what I'm going to do is right click on work path and say stroke path, and it will say what tool do you want to use. I've never tried all these other tools, I only ever use it on brush, and go OK to that, and so it draws using my brush tool on that path. Now I'm going to, I think, go with yellow for this, so I will go to the effects and choose color overlay and choose a bright yellow there, and that's a bit distinct, so I'm going to blur it to soften it a bit. Just spread that out there. Come on now, out you come. That's more like it. Yeah, spread it out there, and also don't really need it that strong, so I'll just reduce the opacity of that layer a bit. Okay, so that's sort of the background of my sparkles. Now it gets fun, because I'm going to go to the brush presets, and I'm going to choose, I mean, there's lots of different brush types here. If you've never explored this, there's all sorts. I'm just going to go with assorted brushes. I'll append that, which means it'll add those new brushes down here. And I chose this one because I know there are some star and sparkle kind of shapes in. I think this one is the one that I want. Now, I'm going to do each brushing on a new layer, so I'll add a new layer here, and I'm going to increase that in size and try it out. Okay, that's going to be great, but I want to go to the brush details here. Under tip shape, I want to spread it out a bit so it's not so condensed, and scattering, I'll just show you this. If there's no scattering, then it just brushes like that, and then the more you scatter it, the more it kind of randomizes it, you know. And I want a fair bit of scattering here. I'll crank that slider up a bit. So now when I paint, see, it's kind of all over the place. Actually, maybe my spacing is a bit much. I'll just bring that back a little bit and try that again. Okay, that's fun, but I want it a bit smaller at first. Yep, good. A bit less spacing, perhaps. Alright, a little bit smaller again. Okay, now just close that and then right click on my path again and stroke. Yes, still a brush tool. Okay, can you see that? It's just added, you know, these random little sparkles here. Now you can, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see that a bit better, turning that layer off and on. Now maybe for this first pass, I might blur them a bit too. Obviously that's too much, they've disappeared altogether. Just blur them a bit. Yep, that's good. Now I'll add another layer. I want to make them a bit smaller this time. Yeah, even a little bit smaller still. Yeah, that's good. And again, on my new layer, right click on the path, stroke path. Yeah, that's nice. See, every time I apply it, it's quite random, a little bit different. Now, on another layer, I might go bigger this time, some quite big ones. Maybe that's a bit outrageous. Now let me have a look. Should the spacing be like that? And maybe, oops, not dynamic scattering, maybe not quite so scattered. Let's try this. Stroke that. Not too bad. Maybe I could reduce the opacity of that layer a bit. Yeah, that might work. Let's have a look at the whole thing now. Oh, at any time I can just click off the work path up here. That gets rid of that. Now I'm just going to have a look here. Okay, so that's fun. Maybe that first layer is a bit strong. Oops. I can reduce the opacity of that a little. Let's have a look at that. Alright, that's good. So far I've only used the same shape, but gosh, I could try a different shape. I'll go back to my brushes here. I've got a star. That might work. Increase it in size. Oops, I'll need to go back to tip shape. I want it spaced out some more. Again, I want some scattering. I might try. Yeah, that's pretty good. Smaller though, I reckon, for those. Oh, now we're talking. Now, is that a blank layer? Yes, it is. I'd forgotten what I'd done there. And stroke that. Oh, okay, that's pretty nice. Again, maybe I'd lower the opacity, or I could change the color of those. Remember that effects I used before, color overlay? I could make those little stars yellow as well. Okay, just for something different. So you can play all you like. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here, I think, is make it a bit more intense at the bottom. So for this, I'll add a new layer. I will go back to this brush that I was using at first. Make quite a big one. The spacing and scattering don't matter because I'm just going to do a few single clicks here. Yeah, I just want it to be quite, oops, that was a bit too low. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And maybe another one there, there. I figure it would be a bit brighter down here where it's coming right from Santa's hand. Oops. Like that. Okay, how's that going? Alright, I'll just have a look at the whole thing now. Yep, I think that's a bit of fun. Okay. So now, the last thing I think to do would be to group all these layers and mask them, because I don't want it quite going over Santa's hand like that. I'll just move that down a bit, and then I have to go back to just my normal old brushes for regular masking, of course, although masking with funky brushes can be fun. If you search my site for the tutorial about funky, crazy clipping masks, that is a bit of fun. Okay, so I'm just going to mask that off from under Santa's hand. The idea being I want it to look like it's coming out of his palm, you know? Okay, this is a bit rough, but you get the idea. The other thing I could do is make it kind of fade off at the top. So, well, maybe that's a bit much, but right, so then it's sort of fading away a bit up there. So, I hope you might have a chance to play with this and have a bit of fun. As you can probably tell already, this will work better against a darker background. You know, Santa's beard is kind of bright and the sparkles fade a bit. If this were over here, you can see how amazingly effective that is. So if you're planning a photo with this effect, try and go for a dark background if you can. Anyway, have fun, and feel free to post in Ask Damien if you're having any questions or problems with this technique.